In this video, I'm going to go through questions 1 through 6 on the review. The directions for all of these are to just simply find the derivative. So on number 1, we have a function inside of another function. So I'm going to need to do the power rule with the 3 first, and then chain on the derivative of the inside. When we do the power rule, we multiply the 3 down. Remember to keep everything on the inside the same. So that inside part is going to stay x to the 4th minus 3x squared plus 5. And then we're going to chain on the derivative of the inside, which would be 4x cubed minus 6x. Number 2, we have a similar setup here. Again, this is going to be a function inside of another function. The mistake here is that people will see this as the product rule. It would be product if it was cosine x tangent x. That would imply a multiplication of cosine and tangent. But as it's written here, tangent is being plugged into cosine. So again, this is going to be a chain rule. So we are going to do the derivative of the outside function. So the derivative of cosine is negative sine. So I'm going to do the negative sine of, keep the inside the same, negative sine of tangent x, and then I'm going to chain on the derivative of the inside, and the derivative of tangent is secant squared. Number 3, I simply just need to rewrite these so that I can take the derivative of each term separately. So I will do that first. Notice this is not y prime, this is y. I'm just rewriting these. The square root of x, that's x to the 1/2 power. And then 1 over x to the 4th, the cube root of x to the 4th. Well, the cube root of x to the 4th would be x to the 4/3 power, but because it's 1 over that, we can make that negative and bring it to the top. So this is going to be x to the negative 4/3 power. And now that I've rewritten that, I'm going to go ahead and take the derivative, and I'm just going to use the power rule for both of these. So the first one would be 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. I subtract 1 from 1/2. And then I use the power rule for the second term, which means it's going to be minus 4/3 x to the, if I subtract 1 from 4/3, I'm going to get negative, from negative 4/3, I'm going to get negative 7/3. Number 4, we're going to need to use the quotient rule to start off with, but we are going to have a chain involved here as well because we have the square root of a function on the bottom. So we have a function inside of a square root function. So there is going to be a chain involved here, but we're going to start with the quotient rule. So the quotient rule would say the bottom times the derivative of the top, which would just be 3. Minus the top, 3x minus 2, times the derivative of the bottom. So when we do the derivative of the bottom, the square root of 2x plus 1, I want to think of rewriting that part as 2x plus 1 to the 1/2 power. So when I do the derivative of the bottom, I'm going to do the power rule, 1/2, keep it 2x plus 1, to the negative 1/2 power, and then we're going to chain on the derivative of the inside, which would be 2. And all of that is the derivative of the bottom. So again, quotient rule, bottom times derivative of the top minus top times derivative of the bottom, and then all over the bottom squared. So if I'm going to square the square root of 2x plus 1, the bottom is just going to be 2x plus 1. Number 5, we have, again, a product here. So we're going to use the product rule, but we are going to have a chain here. This 5 is a 5th root. So it's 2x times the 5th root of x squared minus 4. So we're going to start with the product rule, which says to do the first times the derivative of the second. Now the derivative of the second, again, it's going to be similar to how we did the derivative of the bottom on number 4. I'm going to use the power rule, so I'm going to think about this part right here as x squared minus 4 to the 1/5 power. So it's the bottom I'm sorry, the first times the derivative of the second. Again, derivative of the second is going to be 1/5 x squared minus 4 to the negative 4/5, chain on the derivative of the inside, which is 2x. So we have the first times the derivative of the second plus the second, which would just be the 5th root of x squared minus 4, times the derivative of the first, which is 2. Number 6 is a product as well, so I'll just use the product rule here. Y prime is equal to, so my two functions here are e to the negative x and then that polynomial. So the first times the derivative of the second, which would be 2x minus 2, plus the second, which is x squared minus 2x plus 2, times the derivative of the first. So remember, when we do the derivative of e to the x, it's e to the x. However, you need to chain on the derivative of the exponent here. So it's going to be e to the negative x. I keep that the same, but then chain the derivative of the exponent, which is going to be negative 1. Okay, I'll continue with 7 through 10 on the next video.